Jurassic World is really, really dense. And I don't mean that necessarily in a bad way or a good way. I don't mean it's dense as in it's stupid, or it's dense as in there's a lot to it. I kind of mean both. It articulates a decent story overall, but the problem is that it does this way too fast in way too many areas, and then focuses on way too many obvious plot contrivances going out, as it were. So the ending ends up over-dramatic where it doesn't necessarily have to be. And here's my thing. So they decide to go back to the island. And right away I have a problem because I'm like, why the heck would you ever go back? There's a volcano that's due to erupt on the island, and for no reason, they're going to supposedly rescue these animals and put them on another island as a sanctuary. Well, okay. Except that it's not really... Okay, first off, you find out, like, all kinds of information within the first 15 minutes, and you're suddenly just info dumped, basically. And that is incredibly frustrating. But some scenes are decent and have a good staging to them. They feature Jeff Goldblum reprising his role as Ian Malcolm, and he does a really good job reprising the role. He kind of plays an older, wiser Ian Malcolm who's a little bit less of a hotshot. He's very humbled by his experiences, and it does a decent bit of storytelling for it. But that's kind of where the good parts stop, because you have Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard reprising their roles, and you have a whole little mini adventure where they all go back to the island with the guy from Monk, who also played Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs. I forget the actor's name off the top of my head. Anyway, they do a decent job in their roles, but I kind of feel bad because while Bryce Dallas Howard is an okay actress, in this role she basically could be played by anyone, because her character has no actual personal attributes, and there is no reason why she has to be in this. They decide that they have to go to this one building that has a radio tower, and it's like, okay, so then why don't you set up a satellite thing or a remote connection so that that thing can connect to something back at the dock? You know, why can't you work? No, you have to be there on site. Anyway, so a whole bunch of other weird stuff starts coming into play, and of course they end up off the island and at this one estate that's, you know, has James Cromwell there as this aging benefactor of the current incarnation of whatever this mega corporation is. If it's still InGen, I don't know. But there are a lot of parts to it towards the end that get achingly predictable. One of the worst parts actually comes in the middle, where you have this little girl who hasn't been revealed as a character, but she's essential to the plot somehow. And they do a needless jump scare with her, and I'm like, really? Really? You're gonna do a jump scare? For some reason, on this estate, this estate called the Lockwood Estate, that they've never mentioned before in any of the other films in the franchise. This is just, it's there at the beginning, so it's there at the end as your place where everything is taking place for some reason. But naturally, if you had a several billion-dollar mansion that's several stories tall and everything, and has its own dinosaur museum on site, wouldn't you just naturally bring a bunch of dinosaurs there? Oh my god. I mean, at that point you have way too much of a plot contrivance. You would have any kind of laboratory facilities or whatever, instead of being like underneath, you would have that somewhere else. It's just that simple. But no. We have to have it on site because I'm a wealthy eccentric, so naturally I'm going to build my genetics lab where I develop an even worse nightmare than the Indominus Rex. I mean, that's something that they managed to not spoil too much in this film, because of course they're going to have a worse dinosaur somehow. That's worse than the Indominus Rex, and it's got more raptor in it. And it's like, okay, but if that's the case, wouldn't it just be a raptor? No, it's not just a raptor. It's a bigger, smarter raptor that we can train. Okay. And you set up this weird thing where the guy who played Buffalo Bill, he ends up with this habit of taking teeth from some of the dinosaurs. Okay, well, we've set that up because, of course, we're going to throw that in as a contrivance, that he just collects teeth from these living dinosaurs. So that ends up being his downfall, because, and given it's an interesting enough aspect to play on hubris, it's also stupid. Why would he do that? Chances are he wouldn't. He wouldn't collect teeth from the living dinosaur. It's just, But of course, it encourages him to then get greedy when the new Indoraptor, which is the most bizarre name for a monster, because that's what it is. It's a genetically modified dinosaur that is a monster in this film. Of course, he's going to then get out his vice grips and try and pull the tooth from what he thinks is an unconscious Indoraptor, and he didn't bother to properly shut the cage behind him. And of course, he just goes into the cage after only shooting it with 2 tranq darts, and it immediately goes down within seconds. I don't think so. Nobody would be that stupid. But then on top of that, later in the same scene, the actor, I haven't bothered to look up the name. This is totally off the cuff. The actor who played the Dream Lord on Doctor Who, and who played the research scientist in Captain America and all that, he plays this greedy auctioneer type. Anyway, and he gets onto this elevator, and the Indoraptor smashes a control panel. It's a touch screen that you have to enter a specific code in order to get the doors just to close for the thing to go up. And yet, all he does is smash it with its tail, and the doors open back up. Really? Because I'm pretty sure that if you actually smash the control panel, the doors wouldn't open back up. The elevator would just do what it was going to do. But instead, no, it's got to open back up so that the creature can get him. And I'm just like, at this point, Jurassic World was really good. It managed to innovate the story enough, but it was still kind of playing on itself a bit by saying, oh, well, people are going to want a bigger and better dinosaur, so enter the Indominus Rex. This overly contrived dinosaur that somehow fuses T-Rex with Raptor. And then enter Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. The name doesn't even make sense. And for some reason, they're just like, oh, well, now the dinosaurs are off the island and they're going to take over and everything like that. And they show this montage at the end of all these dinosaurs coming into the human world, and, now the T-Rex is taking on the lion for some reason, instead of going into the elephant cage, which it would probably do to take down an elephant. And some guys are surfing, and one of the giant ichthyosaur things, I think that's what it's called. Anyway, the giant swimming dinosaur from the previous one, that one bursts out of the water and eats one, and it's just okay. Jurassic World kind of jumped the shark. I mean, given Jurassic Park 3 was no prize either, because it required that they have a bigger and better dinosaur too. It really set up the dynamic that we're facing now, where, oh, well, we need a bigger dinosaur, and oh, now we need a bigger dinosaur. Now we need a scarier dinosaur. This one is a better tracker. And it's like they were all good trackers. They all had olfactories. But this one is going after this little girl while she's inexplicably hiding in her bed. Even after the dinosaur is, like, coming for her. It's like, okay, well, you know what most little girls would do? They wouldn't sit there curled up in their bed crying. They would run back out through the door and leave. And get out of there. No. It's just... And on top of that, it wouldn't be able to smell her immediately through the glass after she just ran in there. Maybe it would go to the room because it smelled of her, but I don't think it would smell that much of her, really. It's everything in this story is way too contrived and only really pays off on a pathological level, not an actual logical level. You get a lot of spectacle, but not a lot of substance in the actual plot, if you follow. And I think that's the thing that didn't attract me to this in the first place. It didn't attract me to the previous one. It all felt like it was too much of the studio wants this and the studio wants that, and so we're going to just give the studio what it wants. To me, that's always a problem. They can't come up with anything new. They just have to revive these old franchises. And the thing is, when the first Jurassic Park came out, it was a risk taker. It was one of those films that people were like, well, there's never going to be a way to make this. And Steven Spielberg was like, we can make this. We're going to use CGI and we're going to use some practical effects with some animatronic dinosaurs. And we're going to, do this. We're going to make this happen. You didn't have dinosaurs on screen all the dang time. In fact, a lot of the drama, much like with Jaws, was built up from what you didn't see. I'm here to tell you, they do a little bit of what they did in the first Jurassic Park in the opening, but you still see the dinosaur. So you're not completely mystified as to what the heck is going on. In the first Jurassic Park, they don't show you the raptor right away. You just have that one British guy, and they're hooking up the cage to the raptor pit, but you don't know it's a raptor. And the one guy gets grabbed and dragged in, and he's like, "Shoot her! Shoot her!" You know, it works as that part of the story element. You don't see what the monster is. And in most of the movie, you don't see the dinosaurs. And that's something that Ian Malcolm kind of harangues and you know, makes a big deal out of it. It's like, you're not seeing these dinosaurs because they don't want to be seen. These are predatory dinosaurs. You know, they don't go out where they're visible. So, Dilophosaurus stays hidden. T-Rex stays hidden. It wants to hunt. That's its instinct. And you have this going on with a lot of the different dinosaurs in the first film. So as a result, at night, they're perfectly fine with coming out because it's dark. You won't be able to see them. So they're going to come out in the dark and come after you because that's how predators are. That plays on, ironically, our reptilian brain, as it's called, which then tells us, oh, scary, night, monsters, you're under attack. You know, first Jurassic Park was pee your pants scary. This one will give kids nightmares that a dinosaur is going to come for them, but that's about it. I mean, it's just not very good. Like, they actively avoid having cursing in this film, and I think that's largely just so that they could lower the rating enough to make it so people would take their kids to see this. And I'm a little bit saddened by that because Jurassic Park was never a family-friendly franchise. I mean, Jurassic World kind of showed, because it played on itself a little bit, it showed that, oh yeah, dinosaurs, we like dinosaurs, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily great to take your kids to a movie where dinosaurs are eating people. And they're graphic about this stuff. They're very graphic with it. In one scene, a dinosaur, well, in several scenes, dinosaurs eat people. But in one scene, a dinosaur rips a man's arm off and then stares at him as it's about to kill him and then attacks him. So, I mean, it all kind of is meant to be like, yeah, dinosaurs are scary. They're monsters, so don't make too much light of them. And it kind of goes back to something that Sam Neill's character in the first film said. You know, to the one really fat kid who was kind of saying that the raptor looked like a big turkey. Well, yeah, you know, while you're staring at this turkey, you know, it comes up and eats you and rips your belly open, and you're alive when it eats you. You know, it's just one of those things where this could have been so much of a better film, but you could tell that the director and the writers were really kind of tired of writing it, and they don't want to have to write and produce and direct any more of these stories. It's a tired old franchise. When the first one came out, it was innovative. It broke new ground in CGI and made it so that people were really excited to use CGI integrated with live-action film and produce a decent picture out of it for their purposes. Now, almost everything in the dang film is CGI. All the dinosaurs are CGI. There are no live-action anythings involved anymore to speak of. And it all feels just a little bit too artificial. And like I said, it's to that point where you can predict everything that's going to happen. At one point, one of our villains is hiding under a car when a bunch of dinosaurs come out of a tunnel, and he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm in the clear now, so I'll just go and grab this Indoraptor DNA and take it off somewhere. It's this giant canister for some reason. And immediately out of nowhere comes a T-Rex to eat him. And it's meant to be kind of a jump scare, like, oh, you didn't see that. It's like, well, yeah, but he would have. And so much of this film ends up being pathos, but not decent enough to make you suspend your disbelief. And that's the problem. With good drama, good storytelling, all of this, especially for something as fantastic as all of what you have to suspend your disbelief for, you just can't with this film. It doesn't give you a fair chance to, because it shoves a bunch of info down your throat and makes you, so frustrated by it all. It ends up being this really horrible hodgepodge of different plot lines, different characters who just come and go, and, oh, well, it's time to bring these characters back for this part of the plot. And for some inexplicable reason, they let the little girl set all of the dinosaurs free to then take over the world and attack people. And it's like, you have a whole bunch of predatory dinosaurs in that mix. Before, we had maybe one or two. Now we have a bunch of them, including flying ones, that are going to run amok and take over and tear things apart and kill a lot of people. Thanks, kid. Oh yeah, you were really benevolent back there. Except that these creatures are not... Malcolm was right. He was right from the onset. Everyone has basically agreed about this. He said dinosaurs had their chance and they were selected for removal, and putting them back on the planet with humans is a mistake because it upsets the natural order. The one Laura Dern character in the first film, is talking with Malcolm, and he says, God creates dinosaurs, God kills dinosaurs, God creates man, God kills man, or man kills God, man makes dinosaurs, and she says dinosaurs eat man, woman inherits the earth. And I'm guessing that's kind of where we're going with the plot. I'm not sure, but in all honesty, I don't care. They have officially just basically taken the franchise and hurt it. I heard on Twitter from the only Mike J. Mike Jevons is a online reviewer, and he said, oh, it's a fun little ride. And I'm like, yeah, you have a lot of fun, sort of, but it doesn't exactly have a lot of payoff. Yeah, you have good guys and bad guys, and you see the bad guys get theirs in the end, and you have the big scary dinosaur that you really don't want getting out dead. But then you have the raptors and the T-Rexes and the pteranodons and everyone else running around, killing people, attacking them. And it's like, you know what? I didn't really want any of that to happen in my Jurassic Park movie. I'm going to be doing a longer term, long form review of the first 3 Jurassic Park films, and I'm going to have a very interesting set of points to make about that particular franchise. But I'll save that for then. In the meantime, if you liked Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and Jurassic World, if you think that there's plenty of new ground for future sequels in this franchise, and you think that it's a great series that they've revitalized and everything, tell me all about it. Put it down in the comments below. Just please be constructive and respectful. And if you want to, you can like and subscribe. And if you really feel so inclined, please donate to my Patreon campaign. I would love it if you did. Anyway, take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.